We do. So I have a bunch of old Zoom stuff that we did like last year that I've yet to upload. And that's mostly because I had to do some editing because when I started the YouTube, the video recording. Wow. At least it means it works, because apparently one of them recorded with no sound. But anyway, we decided to start putting them on YouTube because we're having all these videos that we were recording and not sharing with people.
Exactly. And you
it's the 21st century. There's no reason why the BCHA should not have some level of video recording.
Yeah, and it's to the point where you probably put in other meta tags based upon the subject matter, which people, type in maybe say Tucker automobiles.
Right, and we have like the keywords for people to search. So yeah, so we're happy about this. So anyway, welcome to the very last TNC Talk of 2021. I'm Rhiannon, Assistant Executive Director, and we're super excited to have you guys join us tonight. Our very last lecture is about fishing lures, and more specifically, fishing lure companies that were here in Berrien County and in the Michiana area, which is something that I never knew until I just chatted with Michael. I was like, did you know? I said, no, I didn't. I'm sure a lot of other people didn't either. Fishing is a very popular pastime here in this highly outdoor recreation area we live in, so we're very excited to have them. Just a couple of announcements. The BCHA will be closed for Thanksgiving, the 25th and the 26th. We will reopen back on the 27th. Chalk Dust is our current exhibit that runs until December 24th, but we will have it closed for about a week. The week of Thanksgiving, it will be closed because we are going to be doing some painting and repair work in that room as part of our ongoing sheriff's residence renovation. So just keep that in mind. If you're coming to visit that weekend, it will not be open, but it will be available beginning the following Wednesday. Renovations are going well there, and we should have our sheriff's residence ready for you to visit and enjoy by the beginning of December. Some upcoming events that we do have are Killier Christmas Spirit on the 9th. We'll have a wide variety of events here on the grounds to enjoy. Visit our Facebook page or our website to learn more about what we will be doing this year. We are looking for volunteers, so if you would like to come help us, please come see me, call us, email, whatever. We'll be happy to have you on board. We are tentatively still going to try to do our trivia night for Michigan history on December 18th, but we will cancel that if there is little to no interest a few days before. So if you're interested, it's $5 per person, or $40 for a team of 10. And then we will be closed December. We will close early the 24th of December at 2 o'clock for the holidays, and then we will remain closed until early January. Then we'll reopen, and we're very excited. Our first exhibit in 2022 is Global Titan, the Clark equipment company of Michiana, Michigan. Very excited. Yeah, we're the home of the Clark archive, so we've got access to blueprints and research and development things that most people wouldn't normally see. So we're very excited about that. We are also going to be launching our year-end appeal this year, which will be focused on our collections. We have been so generously given a 10 for 10 grant challenge. If we raise $10,000, the Upton Foundation via the Berrien Community Foundation will give us an additional $10,000 to completely redo our collections and archives. Information about that will be coming out soon, so watch your emails, watch your mailboxes, and then keep an eye out for other media outlets for that. So you're not here to see me, you're not here to learn anything about BCHA, you're a regular here. So Michael, I'm going to turn it over to you to teach us about antique fishing lures. And
you need to know some lights.
I think I'm last.
They don't want to see me anyway.
We have wonderful new light outside. People can walk.
Perfect.
All you?
All mine. Okay. Get out of the light here, the limelight. Thanks for coming. My name is Michael Kechkaylo. I've lived in Berrien Springs since 1963. I was born on a dairy farm in Dowagiac. And after that, we moved to Benton Harbor on Morton Hill, and then to Berrien Springs. And you might have heard of Kechkaylo Real Estate. That was my father. Started his business in 1959 and never retired until his passing in 2009. But I've been collecting antique fishing lures for over 45 years. I've written a number of articles for newspapers throughout the country, magazines, other publications, co-authored a number of books, and I do a lot of PowerPoint presentations to various groups all around the country. So this is a hobby of mine, which turned into almost obsession, really. Here's one of the books. This one that I did, hard to see, but this book I co-authored with George Ritchie on made in Michigan fishing lures. Only those made in Michigan. We had the cutoff date in 1963, and we were up to about 600. After this printing, we found more. And we were well over 800 to the second printing. This included mom and pop operations as well as major factories. So I'm getting ahead of myself here. But anytime you have any questions, let me know. One thing about it is I'm not only a collector, I'm a historian. I'm just not interested in the what you have. I'm having the history of where it came from and why you were able to obtain it. So it's a lot of the history that collectors forget to ask this. Because I want to know, where did it come from? Any history that belonged to a member of the family. I'm very fortunate to add to my collection a lot, especially this year. One thing I always state to other collectors, and it's still true, when you think you know it all, you don't. You always keep learning. I had things surface this year that unbelievable information for the collector community. So anyway, I'll get into this a little bit. And this is part of one of my displays, which happens to be out front there. And many different fishermen collect many different companies, small miscellaneous companies to the major. There were a number of major companies throughout the United States. It's unbelievable that the major companies were in a very short area, meaning from Paw Paw, Michigan, Kalamazoo, South Bend, Dowagiac, Garrett, Indiana. Those were the main ones in those states, and then of course Fluid, Ohio. It's truly amazing that the major companies were just in the central Midwest area. This is a picture of me. I had to throw this in with my grandfather. That's me when I was 7 years old. Yes, I was a kid. Yes, I had hair back then. So, Grandpa always took me fishing on the pier for perch. I was always with him. I was his fishing buddy. Taught me a lot. This is me in the show. Right now, if you combine our knowledge, we are experts in the field of the Creech-Up Bait Company. If you combine our knowledge with over 100 years of combined knowledge. Some people collect decoys from all states. This decoy right here, this decoy was from a famous maker up in Cadillac. It was Oscar Peterson. His decoys are highly prized. I was very fortunate enough to gain this one for my collection. It was being in the right place at the right time. This maker made fish decoys to lure fish. If you know anything about ice fishing, they would chop holes in the ice, put a tent around, and jig these decoys. Up would come a pike or a muskie, and they would spear them. This top decoy was made for river fishing, which is, these are very, very rare, especially with the black size. Most of his decoys didn't have those. The other one is from the Great Chub Bait Company, which is a previously unknown size decoy that was found in South Bend, Indiana. I was fortunate to have it in my collection. Many different people collect lures for different reasons. It may be by manufacturer color. This lure right here, I acquired from another collector. To this date, and I've acquired it about 8 years ago. It was pricey. No one to this date, and I searched patents throughout the website on the United States Patent and Trademark Office, both applications and patents. Not every fishing lure was patented or a patent application was filed for. To this date, I do not know who made this lure. I hope to find out someday, but it's definitely not just a garage shop made lure. It's too complex. Probably why it was abandoned, because it took so many moving parts. And this came out of the South Chicago area. I tried all sources, but into there a lot of unknown ones. Here's some more I have in my collection. A mouse lure. This mouse lure, top bottom, totally unknown. These came from the east side. This is both sides. East side of Michigan. Factory made. Still, again, no one knows who made. Here's another one that I picked up, and it's a smaller version. Again, no one knows. I have a lot of lures in my collection that no one knows who, even after 45 years and all the resources I have. Say, here's another one that is here's one that was made on the east side of Detroit. They say nobody knows who made it. This one on the left is the prototype, a test lure that was made by the Great Chub Bait Company. There is no information as to what they were trying to do. It is one of a kind. I was able to purchase it from a family whose relative worked at the Great Chub Bait Company, which was in existence from 1915 to 1979. They're still being made today. Great Chub lures are still being made, but they're made in China, unfortunately. Some people collect reels. Guys like mechanical things, and buddy of mine's collection is quite massive, to say the least. Many different fishing items that are being collected. Okay, normally I don't talk about values, but you are looking at the holy grail of antique fishing lures. I actually held this in my hand. I was at a show where a guy, a huge convention show, was open to the public. This guy walked in with this particular lure, and I just want to focus on this a bit. It was made by Riley Gaskell out of Ohio in the 1850s. What makes this so special? It has a wood box with his name stamped into the end of the box. And it is unbelievable. It is the only musky Gaskell minnow that's ever been found. At the show, is it brass? It is. It is metal over, we don't know at this time, but apparently it is metal over wood. Nobody wants to, no one's ever found one that's been obliterated. You can see what's inside. Someday it's metal over metal. I really believe it's metal over wood. Yes. Unfortunately, it's metal, so it's been tough to see inside. That was the problem. Now, I'm going to tell you about this one. When I was at the show, and there's some collectors with very, very deep pockets that I can't believe what I was holding. And the guy used this. You don't love this. The guy for many, many years, decades, used this lure as a paperweight on his desk. It's heavy, it's huge, it's unbelievable. He was offered $70,000 at the show. Scared him away. He was talked into a national auction, which had bought $101,000. This is if you own one lure, this is it. The chances of you winning the lottery 6 weeks in a row is better than finding one of these. It's just totally. Now, I know the gentleman that bought it, Tracy, sold it. After he bought it at the auction, he sold it for $250,000. Unbelievable.
How big is it?
You know what? I wish I had the length, but it's right around 8 inches. It's from the line tie to the back. But the box, and unfortunately, the guy doesn't have any information about it. The guy that sold it initially, he says, I don't remember where I picked it up. So all the information is gone. By the way, Riley was a gun maker and blacksmith in Ohio, and he actually patented this lure, but no one knew until that time frame. And I think I seen this 15 years ago from the practice. That guy, it's a good thing that he just didn't walk to a collector and at the show and say, hey, listen, hey, give me $1,000 for this. Yeah. So
this means in 50s.
yeah.
How many were the manufacturers that early, or people largely just making them like privately sell?
Excellent point. Most of your fishing lures before 1900 were made of metal. There's still controversy as when actually the first wooden lure was produced. But pretty much most of your metal maker lures are from New York, East Coast. Riley Haskell was also, like I say, a gunsmith, blacksmith, and he just wanted something different. Now, how did the blacksmith don't make the new goods? Some of these blacksmiths and gunsmiths are artists from back then. Can you imagine making this in the 1850s? He did patent it, which is unbelievable that he did. Because he thought he was on something. He might have tried to sell his invention, his patent, to somebody else, and they said, "No, I'm not interested. Can't make any money. No future in it." Here's another metal work again, pre-1900. This is called the Chautauqua minnow. They've been found in the boxes. Most of you, this is a very tough one. It's not worth the money as far as that. I think this one probably, and they fluctuate because more had turned off, so the price is down. So instead of 100,000 over, it's a few thousand. With the box, triple that. Box is more important than the wood sometimes. Okay. For those on live stream and the video, have you ever heard of the South Bend Bass Arena? It was made by the South Bend Bait Company. Now, this has ties to Michigan, which I'll get into. South Bend Bait Company later on, in the early days, it was on the verge of bankruptcy. They could not compete with the other large bait companies. Then one day, a gentleman walks in, says, "I have an idea, and here's the lure. I already have it patented. Are you interested in buying it? I've already been turned down by other bait companies." There have been more bass arenas sold by the major companies than any other lure. They said, "No, it doesn't look like it catch fish." But in fact, it was a fish catcher. It's still produced today. It is the most copied version. It's too simple. All it does is, you can see in the picture, it has just a simple cup, modular part from the wood. Yeah, this is made wood. Very, very simple. Okay. This guy's my hero. Remember he told me about a guy came into something big company and tried to sell his patent. All the major companies turned it down, except something big company. And he was James Olds. I want to make sure I got them. There's conjecture in regards to his last name. Some say it's just James Old, but the patent says James Old. He was from Benton Harbor, Michigan. Now, rumor has it that he made some made-up boxes and tried to sell them locally. Unfortunately, he didn't have very good success. You gotta remember, let's go back 100 years. People were in this mobile. I mean, the automobiles were limited. This patent date, I'm sorry, I got to look again, is 1916. So in 1916, it's very tough to get around. Communications were limited. He had to actually go from Baycombe to Baycombe. And so he had little success. Advertising in magazines, publications is expensive. So we try to sell it. But if you were to find a true James Olds lure in the box with the papers, you call me up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and depending on the condition of the box and the lure and the papers in it, because rumor there has been one found, but it has not been confirmed. It'd be worth, well, put this way, if it's in pristine condition. If you'd said, I want $2,000 for it, you'd say, you want that in the 50s or 100s. So, okay, a little bit difficult to see. Here's when I research all the patents. This guy was also from Benton Harbor. All right, Howard Dick is his last name. He's from trace the ancestry down to Bainbridge Township here in Berrien County. I pulled this in my research. It's a very simplistic lure. Not I was trying to locate the family, the relatives, the heirs, see if they knew anything about this guy. I hit a dead end. There are a lot of patents granted for fishing tools that have never been done. I love the plans, especially being from Berrien County. This states all the information of the patent office. Okay. All right, well, ladies, sorry about this, but we're going to get into something. Okay, again, we're staying in Benton Harbor. I'm going to look through my notes here. Okay, you ever hear of the Mull Tool Works? Anybody know where Milton Street in Benton Harbor is? Which I wouldn't go there. Yes. Pretty bad area, yeah. Mull Tool Works. They made the mermaid lures. They put a mermaid in a lot of different things. They made a number of different lures, metal. They made bobbers with mermaids on them. They were kind of a novelty thing, but they did catch fish. But not that many were super fishing. Most of them were sold because of what? The marketing. The novelty. Okay. And it says right up here. Let's get that. See if I can. There we go. I should say mermaid, Romano, multiple works that are machine. So you'll find that a lot of the lures are even very common. Not very collectible. Most of them were just simple lures. Metal lures there is an exception. Everybody heard of Fatsko? Okay. Fatsko, does anybody know what Fatsko stands for? Fair Avenue Tin Shop Company. Yeah, Fair Avenue, Benton Harbor. They're they're most famous for their anchovies. As a matter of fact, I have one of their original counter display cards. So their ant poison was great, but unfortunately, the government said it's too poisonous. But it worked. I remember having this kid watch my mom put the stuff down for the ants. That's going to be a lot of things besides, ant poison. They made boat parts, wood burning stoves, anchors, fishing lures, pork rinds. I was fortunate enough to get this. You know what a pork rind is when you fish, you sometimes just have a hook, and they actually used a pork rind that was in a jar, which will be on the next page. And next slide. And you could put it on your hook. It's like if you had a minnow or a night crawler on them, you would lose it. The fish would eat it, tear it off. The pork rinds were so tough, you could keep the same bait on it all day long, but nice wiggly necks, and a lot of companies that made that. Here's some of the lures they produced. Notice that they're mostly metal. The only times these really have any value is if they're on the counter, like the cinnamon. It's a spatula. And there's I didn't know it until recently. There's two types of cards that's used. And by the way, a lot of people don't know this. Is that Fatsko made lures for the Shakespeare bait company out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. So a lot of companies. Here's one, Fatsko. This is by far has a lot of great graphics. And you can see up here says solely at Fatsko. Boat camp stoves, etc. To be on the card is almost impossible to find. This example here is the only one I've ever seen. It's fortunate to get it. And on the card, it has all the directions on how to use this food. And here's that pork rind drop. Okay, now there was a gentleman that worked on the railroad, and he had an idea for a lure, this frog lure. He patented this frog lure in 1897. They say this is the first, there's still a lot of controversy. This is the first lure that was made out of anything but metal that had used a wood or a pork. Very fragile. His name was C.R. Harris. He lived in the Niles, and he made these frogs. He then moved to Manistee, Michigan, and still produced them in limited numbers. Very, very tough to come by. But there were little towns all over. Unfortunately, this is probably of all the lures that I know about were made in Berrien County. This is probably the most desirable, and there's very few people that collect metal lures that want the wood ones or something very articulate with movements.
What was the reason for searching for metal lure?
Cost. Wood was a whole lot cheaper than metal and easier to work with. There was another company that I do not have a slide of. It was out of Niles, Michigan. It was the old Hutch Incorporated that made the arrowhead, what I call the arrowhead spoon, again, metal lure. And surprisingly, in Eau Claire, Michigan, has anybody heard of the H&M manufacturing company in Eau Claire? I think it stands for Herman and Mel Zellner, if I remember correctly. And they made the same spoon, just marketed in their box. Same word. Apparently they shared the information with that company that Berrien Springs. I was very, very fortunate enough to acquire this one. There's a few other of these spinner lures, again, metal. This was made in about the 1920s. Benjamin Franklin Bill is buried in the Rose Hill Cemetery. He lived in Berrien Springs. Well, he was born in 1874. He passed away in 1960. This was made based upon age, etc. This is the only one known with on the original card. was very fortunate to have in the collection. There's been a few others that I was able to identify only because it was on this card. But Benjamin Franklin building was a jeweler. And this. Apparently, that how it fits together, but that was his occupation. This is just an introductory in regards to some of the boxes and posters. Remember what I said about centrally located? Most of your fishing lures were made in this core area, stretching from Paw down the zoo, all of them here in Indiana, and there's some smaller companies. But most of your fishing lures in the early days were made in this square area. And then they kind of branched out a little bit. Surprisingly, in southern Michigan, there were a number of moderately sized companies, but most of the companies throughout Michigan were mom and pop. Guys making selling. Bud Stewart, probably a renowned maker that he would stay up late at night and eat beers, and they did not catch fish at all. But as far as Berrien County is concerned, there's a not documented, but hearsay that there are a lot of small companies in Berrien County. Most of them made metal because it's easy to produce. There was a lot of machine shops back then. Maybe mold works, for example. You can see here is that you got the Paw Bait Company, which is also a Moonlight Bait Company in Paw, Michigan. Shakespeare in Kalamazoo, you got like Lockhart, Coldwater, Michigan, Wajak Devon, South End Bait Company. You had the Creek Chub Bait Company, which is one of my favorite companies, and then some smaller ones. But your major companies, it's amazing. Most of them, 85% of fishing produced here. Most of them started 20th century.
To what do you attribute the centralization of this in southwestern Michigan or the
That is an excellent question and no one can really answer. It is very, very difficult because there are, especially in certain areas of Michigan, especially in Indiana, there's a number of lakes and such. And let's go back to over 100 years. And it's like, okay, I live in Wajak, Michigan, like James had. And back in 1904, people were not very mobile. And so they usually produced back then in their own hometown instead of moving to a city. It was too expensive. It was more economical. The Creek Chub Bait Company here in Indiana, they bought an old hotel. And that's what was their factory.
Were they serving the local area primarily, or were they
In the beginning.
shipped all over at the beginning?
In the beginning, my favorite company is the Creek Chub Bait Company out of Berrien, Indiana. They have a lot of history. And it is truly amazing what is out there still. This year, I was able to get a call from a lady that whose great uncle worked for the Creek Chub Bait Company. Now, remember me saying earlier, when you think you know it all, you don't. Well, I sure didn't that day when I went over to her house. I seen things that she had where I was from the great uncle who worked with the Creek Chub Bait Company back in the late 20s and 1930s. And he gave all his lures to my father, and he fished quite a few of them. And she had things I have never seen before and hard to get license. But it's amazing what it's about. People move morning. Thankfully, she just didn't throw them away for some 25 cents a piece of garage sale because it was very, very pricey, some of the things. And but mostly in the beginning, it was local sales of these companies. word spread through newspapers. And then these companies, as they were able to get resources, they were able to get them, put out catalogs, flyers, early magazines, and their businesses flourished because wood lures was the best thing that ever came to light. They were more affordable. They could make a lot of them. We're going to get into production in a moment. Patents on scale pattern, probably run late, but some of those. Okay. I'm sure you know a number of pictures from some of the factories. Okay, this came from the Heavy factory. Okay, do you notice anything unusual about this picture? Very good.
Are they black?
I'm sorry.
Are they African American?
Nope. Nope. Women. Women were used to, and a lot of it was seasonal, depending on the number of workers. Sometimes if you're so busy, they would run 12 months out of the year. The lumber companies did a lot of winter work. For example, the Paw Bay Company out of Paw Paw, Michigan. And before that, it was called the Moonlight Bay Company. It started in just at the turn of the century. A lot of seasonal work. They would make those during the wintertime. A lot of farmers worked there. A lot of farmers' wives worked there. Women have an eye for detail. They just could paint so well. Unbelievable. And they found that women could do this work and know their detail. And they did everything to make the painting those. The guys would work on the lathe, turn the bodies. The women would paint. They would have men and women, but mostly women would put the roles together. I hate to say this, but it's an honest fact that women were cheaper back then. They didn't cost as much per home. That was just a sign of the times. As you see, this is from the Fish Decoys Company. Women are putting crochet. Here's a lady on the left, and she's painting through a mesh. Fish Decoys Company had a patent for scale pattern. It was innovative design. That patent, and they came up with it. It was a huge success. So huge that other companies started to do it on their own, and they would infringe on the patent. So what happened was the Fish Decoys Company got with the Heavy Bait Company, who was much bigger and had deeper pockets. They sold them 50% of the rights to the scale, use of the scale pattern for $1. The reason for that is Heaven had to sue all these companies at their expense for patent infringements. So they sued all the other companies, small and big companies. So it was unbelievable as far as the innovative, even back then, of what they made in the machinery in the 20th century. On the left, you see a lady putting eyes on garters and painting. And as you can see on the right-hand side, here's one of the founders of Fish Decoys Company. Get over there. His name is Henry Dills. He was the brains of the outfit. He designed a lot of the innovations. Unfortunately, his untimely death in 1927. Brilliant man. The other two guys were good in business and finances, but Henry Dills was the best. This is one of the early lures from Heaven, out of the Wajak. You see the lure in the box. Combination together is highly sought after because fishermen even today, once they took the lure out of the packaging, threw the box away. In fact, there are no exception to that rule. In fact, in this particular case, on the early lure boxes from the turn of the century, early 1900s, are worth more than the lure itself. For example, if the box and the lure, and you say, okay, I want 200 for the lure, 200 for the box, but you can only have one, I would take the box. boxes and boxes and back boxes working. Just really, really quick, and people want to ask, well, you know, everybody collects something, and everybody does. Our hobbies got hit hard on prices. Pricing went way down. Did it hurt the value of my collection? Yes, absolutely. Do I care? No, because it's my collection and I enjoy it. The people that want in for an investment, they're the ones that are really bad. I hate to say it, but the recession of the 2007-8, also all these collections came on the market. People get hard financial times, flooded the market. And then eBay, of course, everybody knows about eBay. All of these things came on eBay, flooded the market. Yeah, prices went down. I was able to buy more than cheaper, and things that weren't for sale were now for sale. But our prices are still down. Heaven took the worst hit. Heaven was number one. Now they're way down as far as the big companies. Their prices are only like 25% at best of what they used to like. Here's a beautiful picture of boxes. Heaven was a lot of them, beautiful boxes. Lures, okay, standard, but fishing lures caught fishermen more than they caught fish. This is the pine tree box, very, very rare box in pristine condition. It's very tough to come by. There are exceptions. Here's a small company out of Dearborn, Michigan. This is one of my favorite companies, J.D. Hosmer Mechanical Frog. It's kind of funny. He made these himself. He didn't have anybody help him. He had his boxes made for these frogs. He went all over trying to sell his idea. It was, as you can see by the design, it was a lot of moving parts. It was not easy to produce, and so all the companies turned him down. He sent a copy of his frog, one of his frogs, to the prodigy company. And I have that documentation from the factory, from the archives that I observed to it now. They turned it down. However, the prodigy company, after they turned it down, they made a variation. More companies copied everything. So the prodigy company made a simplistic design of this frog. And it turned out to be their best seller, their best bird ever made. So, yeah, I mean, these lure companies, they were buddy supposedly, but they were constantly just hated each other. I mean, they did. But it was kind of funny because it was what do you call that? A love-hate relationship? Because Creek Chub Bait Company also painted lures for Shakespeare. Pawpaw painted lures for anybody because they were hurting for clients. So, and South Bend Bait Company worked with Pawpaw, and they all worked together in some manner. Creek Chub Bait Company they had such a fantastic growing business, they ran out of dollars on the lures that required the props. So they called up Shakespeare, hey, listen, we can't get props from our suppliers quickly. You have, 10,000 on hand, 5,000 will take what you have. So you're going to find Creek Chub lures with Shakespeare named props on them. So it's kind of innovative. Here's another guy that was Berrien. He made the stump dodger out of Traverse City, Michigan. He was innovative. This, of course, nobody really wanted to this lure, but again, a very, very desirable small miscellaneous company. He did make a musky version, huge, and they're very, very rare, very rare. There were thousands of dollars in nice condition. I don't like to go into pricing because pricing changes every month, it seems like. Here's one out of South Haven. It's one of my heroes as well. Unfortunately, this is Joe Liskey that patented this lure. Applied for a patent for a fishing lure, very simplistic. And this was 1919. Made him in South Haven. He worked for the Overton Frame Company. They also had the funeral lures from Underway. He was a fisherman. He applied for the patent, but he was never granted a patent. This was his simplistic design. for his application. Remember me saying I look at people, I never throw anything out, and especially my worst enemy is the guy that picks up the trash at the road, because a lot of this stuff still gets thrown out today. But very simplistic design. And I tracked this lure I had. I had one of these lures, I had no idea. I ended up finding relatives that maybe that knew that they were actually the daughter of Joe Liskey. And she kept all of the inventory and paperwork of her father from the teens, late teens, and early 20s. I acquired this information many years ago. And now they kept everything. So here's this unsold inventory, all of this paperwork. What a historical find. So it's not just a collecting of lures, it's the history. Finance, and I did an article in the South Haven Park Company because they really never had, and he all hand painted every one of these and carved every one on his own. So many things are very, very rare. One of my companies I collect is the Papa Bay Company, Papa, Michigan. This is very, very rare. This is a wooden counter display with their lures. I found it in Kentucky, of all places. There were two known. The other one was destroyed during Katrina. So I have the only one known at present time. As you can see, I get around the United States pretty good, especially if I have a whole lead. Yeah, I'll fly it around. Doesn't matter. If it adds some question, I try to again, also made a metal rack for the lures. And again, very, very difficult to find. But you wouldn't think so, because guess what? If the dealers bought a certain number of lures, they get a free rack. Well, very few known. It's maybe 12, 13 known. That's it. I was able to finally acquire one 2 years ago. It was expensive, but I have to remember because one thing I always tell people, money is replaceable, whatever you like. Time and opportunity. Sometimes you have to fight and just remember that frog I was telling you about that they copied from J.D. Hosmer? There it is. Okay, they made it in various sizes, and it's different, but it gave them the insight to produce that. Papa also, up until recent, I'm gonna get this. Okay, these lures on the right hand side were from a single small company in Kentucky. It's called the Leaper Basket. Now, this guy couldn't have made these. He carved these in his garage. So nobody knew. But just a short while ago, I was able to get a time capsule that was open, that hasn't been open since 1936, that I was talking to Reed about. And everything in there was from the moonlight lures and other items and there's two of these. And this is standard Papa colors on the right hand side. Problem solved. Now we know who made the lures, the bodies, and painted them for Henry Lee. This information was only discovered a few years ago. And I was able to apply this one. And there's some other lures from that time. More Papa lures, yes, they did make plastics. A lot of collectors do not collect the plastics. It's very unusual. Yes, they collect the translucent lures, whatever you like. Fish Bay Company was probably the best for putting out counter displays and advertising pieces and flyers and beautiful catalogs. They took pride in the advertising and the display. It's a beautiful, as found, 12 of the 500 spoontails that they made in the 50s. This is from the 1950s. And this lure was a failure. They only made the lure 3 years. However, just because they made it 3 years doesn't make it valuable, because actually there's quite a few out there. BCHA bait company, early days, made this year, and Papa Bait Company was introducing a new brand new, which they infringed on the name, so they started calling it other names, the platypus and et cetera. And then they found out they kept getting sued because it's the wrong name. So Papa Bait Company was constantly in litigation because it copied everybody, and they didn't care about trademarks or infringements. Didn't care. They were a struggling company. Okay, this is one display well in my house. Wow. This is maybe 5% of my collection at the most.
You make your own bases?
No, I have those custom made by a custom made by Alabama. He makes all my pieces for me. I would say 99% of them. I don't have the time to do that. Sometimes you know.
Sorry, we're museum, like, ooh, those are so pretty. We're gonna get those.
Yeah. Arthur,
Raise the other guy's name.
Are you surprised?
He'll
Nobody
make-
should be surprised.
I'll make any case you want, size, depth, dimensions, types of wood, anything. And we make all of my cases. Plus the fact that it keeps them all uniform.
Yeah.
There are exceptions, like this case here. This case was made by a buddy of mine. He takes picture frames and makes the shadow boxes. And I wanted something special for these three lures. You do not have to have a lot of lures. This little case here is probably worth more monetary wise than everything else because of the rarity. But
When you go to shows or an event, you just take those right off the wall and then show?
if you can get by my security system,
No, I mean, if you're going to a show.
yes.
And display them, you take those right off the wall and bring, is that how you do it? Just bring case as is to the show?
Yes, unfortunately, what I do with the retail bait company is I collect every model in this particular color, which was, this particular color was put into production in 1926 by the retail bait company. It was used on more lures than any other color in the company. And I have all the variations and specials, et cetera. The problem is, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're looking at 14 panels out of 28. So it would be very, very difficult for me to take this to a show. It's gotten too big. And people say, well, you're pretty much done. No, that's not true. I added actually 3 pre-chucks over flash storage to this collection this year, which was, it's unheard of. But everybody has their niche, but I also have pre-chuck models, models in my collection. Pre-chuck digging into plastics. I usually don't collect the plastics unless I series black or color black. This one was a beautiful amber. It was a hit, but it was difficult for them to produce, so they didn't make very many. So just because it's not wood, it's plastic. It's not really a high value item, but it's just beautiful. It's eye appeal. What the eye appeal of the lure. When the Creech Bait Company first came out with the Viking minnow, which they sold millions upon millions, it's like the Southland Bass Ring, Creech Bait Company. We made an introductory box. Later on, they were making so many different models that they couldn't have an intro box or everything, so they went to a standardized box that they used up until 1952, until they went to a sleeve, plastic top or sleeve, plastic sleeve box. Creech Bait Company, these turned up out of Indiana. I was able to acquire the one on the left. It went from a number of collectors before I was able to find it, but Creech Bait Company was the most used. They would make, if you said, I want a lure painted yellow with purple, pink, and gold spots, they would make it for you. You'd have to pay a little bit of a premium, but they would, but they also did a lot of testing. Here is a test bait that Creech made that never panned out and never was padlocked. That came out of the archive. I actually bought this lure from one of the grandsons of one of the founders of the Creech Bait Company under the photo. Here's another one that no one knows why. This is another test lure that they tried, that most of them have been found in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, and even New York. No other areas where they try to make a sonic type fluoride. This surfaced at an auction in Ohio. Nobody knows any other information about it because anybody that was with the Preach Up Bay Company knew the time of this production was long gone. The top floor is the one that was made, custom made for a Lincoln's harbor out of New York State for musky fishing on Lake Chicago. They made 3 dozen. 3 are known to exist in beautiful, perfect condition. It took me 30 years to get this one. Right here. It took me 30 years. It is in this piece right here. The guy was, I said, if you ever want to sell it. So it took me 30 years before we decided to get out of collecting the nights. There's not that many more. As you can see, compared to their bass bait, there's an injured minnow on the bottom. It's a big deal. If you ever fish for muskies, you understand. Big muskies like big baits, big fish. So beautiful colors. The Preach Up Bay Company, in my opinion, was the best one colors. They would experiment. This is called blue mullet. This lure was made for saltwater fishing. They got into the saltwater market very, very late, and they tried to send it and producing turf and pike and fishing. If you're for saltwater, once you put this lure in there, you got to hold saltwater fish and with the corrosive saltwater, it would just destroy the lure. So finding a nice condition, saltwater lures is very, very good. Again, I went over the intro boxes. They went through this intro box here, different stages. And this is one of the first lures. This lure dates from about 1916. So again, the standardized boxes later. A number of their lures from the Preach Up Bay Company. What is really noted about Preach Up? Let's see if I can do that slide. Okay, I want to touch on this a little bit. These are the same models. There's no difference in construction. Hooks, design, modeling, differences in color. Color can make a huge difference on the throughout the United States. And one is very common, the one on the left, you can still buy, they make so many of these on the far left. New in the box, you can still buy them at any antique fishing or show for about $20. There's so many of them out there, new in the box. The one on the right was made in yellow flash. Very limited production in yellow flash. All of a sudden, you take a $20 one and it's turned into $150. So color can mean big difference from the rest of that. These I have no idea yet. I've acquired them from a former employee's family, and they have no idea. These were made in the 1970s. I tried to get the information from people that still work there in the 70s, but even they don't have an idea. I found these, and we don't know. 2 other Preach Up companies, we don't know what they're trying to accomplish. Normally, they would stamp the boxes where they perhaps a model. They never did in these. To this day, we don't know. There's about 18 of these now. That's it. But they've all been found in boxes. So there's still a lot of unknown variables we're still learning. Some people color collect. This was catalog whitefish. There was a fishing guy in Wisconsin, and we're going to get into Michigan a little bit later, especially Berrien County and color. That they love to fish for muskies and pike in Wisconsin. So the guy came down to the Preach Up Bay Company and says, "Okay, we're hitting on whitefish. I want you to develop the whitefish pink matter and some of the lures, and I want it to be various species." And it took them a number of years, and it was so successful that there was the last catalog color for the Preach Up Bay Company in 1975. So these, even though they're made in the 70s, they're very rare, very tough to find, especially in the box. So I had to scrounge a lot of areas and to everything from online auctions to other collectors to deal with this price together. This is a part of it. So quick tip. Remember to tell me about creek chub lures and Shakespeare props? Okay, this one here, this is a Shakespeare. This is a Shakespeare lure made by Creek Chub Bacon Fan here. And here you can see the injured mineral over there, but it's got a Shakespeare prop. So it's kind of an anomaly, but they were able to put the lures on. Creek Chub did a lot of testing up and down Lake Michigan. The coho boom of the 60s and early 70s was unbelievable. People were fishing bass baits and they were losing fish to this coho, breaking line. There weren't lures that hold this shimmer or coho side. So Creek Chub, big company. And one of the sons of one of the farmers, Barry Heinzel, was right here on the left. This is Captain Dave Brown. On the far right, they did a lot of testing on Lake Michigan. How am I doing on time, Maria?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, we're good. Creek Chub was probably the best lure company for listening to fishermen. They saw a market in Lake Michigan, and they took their entire sales department and listened to the local fishermen. What do you need? What can hold these big fish? What colors? And Harry would run back to the factory. From this was taken up in Ludington. And he would run back to Garrett, Indiana, and make up a number of lures, and they would try them out. Most of the time, Harry really didn't listen that well and made bass baits with the colors that Captain Dave wanted, but Coheed destroyed the lure. They found later on that they took saltwater lures, which were wire through, painted them in the colors that the fishermen wanted in Michigan. And guess what? They caught fish and they were able to hold these coho and chinook. So some of them I have in the case out there. And I went from all the way from up to Traverse City, a lot of guys I interviewed, all the way down into Indiana, Berrien County especially, and seeing what Creek Chub Big Company did for the fishing. A lot of advertising by Creek Chub. They came out with some of the salmon lures. You can see the ad for the cohos. They took an obsolete metal lure that they couldn't sell, that they had in inventory for decades, and turned it into the coho. And guess what? It was the same thing, but it was a whole new thing. And they sold a ton of them because the metal lures could hold the coho. And they worked. And sold a lot of them. They tried many different things. This little item right here on the right-hand side is they found that they were trying to find a small lure that would work for coho. Apparently, the coho like small lures with a heavy leader in front, but unfortunately, this came from Captain Dave Berwin, and he refused to even fish it. Thank goodness. He was okay. Berrien County. All right, Creek Chub Big Company came in Berrien County. Okay. I interviewed one fishing guy, and Creek Chub made a 600 series called the Husky Muskie. These were pike and muskie. Okay. And the guy stated, yeah, I need wire through lures, like, something wire through, but not too big, not like the striper pipes, etc. But I want the smallest wire through that you can. So Husky Muskie, Creek Chub sales reps like that. A bunch of them in different colors, not ever seen before in Husky Muskie. And I was able to buy every lure we had. Most of them were new in the box. Thank goodness. Totally unheard of. This one's my favorite that the guide had. This is a natural crab. It's the only one known new in the box. It's the only Husky Muskie known in natural crab finish. I was very, very fortunate to add it to my collection. Yes, I've been bugged to death about this. the part of it, but it's in my collection until whenever. Again, remember we telling you about saltwater lures? Here's a saltwater lure in frog. Unheard of. You won't find it in saltwater areas where fish destructive like this. This is the 6800 series striper pipe. It'll be fun. This was used again by the fishing guides from here in Lake Michigan. Well, here's another color that you will not see in saltwater. This was specifically that you're going to see shad, newer color, late 60s, early 70s. So it doesn't have to be old. Remember what I said earlier about coral? All of a sudden, this lure goes from common to extremely rare, especially since I have them in the box. I love fishermen who never fished lures. New in the box. Thank you. It's like anything you want. Here's what I got from Traverse City from another guy. Okay, this was in what is called dace, unheard of, new in the box. Because a good chip bait company just didn't come up with a few lures and such. We'll try these, and then report back with some work. They came up with a lot of boxes, huge boxes. Oh, guys had lures enough to fish for years. Thankfully, they didn't fish this one because this isn't one. Experimental from Garrett, from family, never made production. Very little is known about it, but there's a lot of us known about it. Yeah, but it's, you know, but unfortunately, that is the internet. We don't do it. There's a lot of companies throughout Michigan, but you're going to find that most of the time with the big companies came to the areas and asked what the fishermen wanted. Some bait companies didn't care. I hate to say this, but the South End Bait Company was probably the worst for listening to fishermen. They just kept pumping out lures, and no input. Creek Chub Bait Company was by far the best as far as listening to what the fishermen wanted. Didn't matter if you fish saltwater, for muskies, for bass, coho. Their business, Creek Chub Bait Company was having a very, very difficult time. And because Creek Chub Bait Company went to the fishing guides and listened to the fishermen out on Lake Michigan, all of a sudden their factory, one of almost close to bankruptcy, all of a sudden gave it new life until they sold out in 1978 to Lazy Ike, who went bankrupt in 1979. So, Berrien County, I'm still finding the number of lures. I'm still getting the number of phone calls. I'm always happy to give out information. If you need some information, I'm always happy to. I know this is going on live stream and it's also going on YouTube, but contact me if you have any information. If you're unsure about lure, if it's valuable or not, if it's collectible, or what is it. I get calls at all hours of the morning, night, which I don't care because I'm up till midnight and up at 7 a.m. One real quick story about, I'm always happy to add something to my collection. I'm known as Michael Kechkaylo, the black hole of Michigan. Because when something gets in my collection, it doesn't come out. It's there. So I had a call, the phone rang. Look up, I look at the clock. I don't know about you, but I'm not awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, what's the emergency or something? That's the phone. Yeah, this is Steve out in California. How you doing, Mike? Oh, okay. He says, good. He says, well, I thought I'd give you a call before you went to bed. And he says, well, there's a 3-hour difference between California and Michigan. He says, yeah. He says, it's midnight here, so it's 9 o'clock your time, right? I said, no, you don't go back 3 hours, you go forward 3 hours. He goes, you mean it's 3 o'clock in the morning your time? I said, yeah. And he says, well, I'm sorry to bother you. I said, Steve, what can I do? Okay. He says, you know that bait you're interested in? What's a fishing bait? It's a free going north. What lure are we talking about? It's such and such. I said, yeah, what about it, Steve? Yeah, what's going on? He says, I'm ready to sell. Good morning. I instantly woke up. That was one of the best 3 o'clock in the morning phone calls I've ever had. So other collectors remember what it was like. Most of them are true to the word that they were part of it. So I'm trying to put into an hour or however I've been talking. Oh my word, hour and 10 minutes. In 45 plus years. And I have many different PowerPoint presentations on different things. But this case right here is that, remember that big Chautauqua I was able to get after 30 years. That's it right there. And there's one that came from a gal. She put it on eBay. I'll never forget Dee. She put it on eBay. It was new in the box. She found it in the tackle box at a garage sale. I talked to her on the phone. She put it on eBay. Now, remember saying about, and I know this is kind of quick, but if I'm running over and you got to go, I understand. People walk out on me all the time. But she put it on eBay. This is another Husky Muskie, except it's in the 09 color, which is the brilliant greenback, unheard of. And she puts it on eBay. She starts it at $9.99 or something. Looking at this, oh my word, this is pre. You know, I can look at a lure and tell you when it was made, especially pre-chub, by the hardware, the paint, etc. It was made in pre-1936, probably around 1930. And I ended up bidding on it, and my snipe at the end was high. I was able to buy it. So I contacted her through email, and I said, please give me a portrait in the earliest convenience. The phone rang within seconds. She said, is this Michael? I said, yes, it is. I said, Dee, what can you tell me about the lure? See, it's not just the what I'm interested in, it's the history. And she says, I don't know anything about it. I found this tackle box for $5. And I thought maybe if the floor went for $20, maybe 25, even 50, I'd be really, really happy. But it went into the 4-figure range. I couldn't believe what I was. She said, why? And I told her why. It's the first one I've ever seen. And it's in the box. And I love it. She said, I will pay for the shipping. I will send it to you. I'll package it very well, overnight express. And I said, I appreciate it. It's the best packaging. It was packaging within packaging within packaging within even more packaging.
It's like it's glass.
Well, it was very pricey to say the least, but I have it in my collection and it will remain there. And you just never know, but it's not just buying the product, it's buying the information. And she went back to me, get some more information, which I was able to put into my archives about the store. And she was able to find more while their dad fished and such, and he bought it at the shop. About that, special order, the number of the original pre-chub. So it can make a big difference. If this was in a standard catalog color, I wouldn't care.
It's a great marriage of form and function. Some of them are so simple, but the colors are so beautiful. And, you know, it's a, especially when they're on display like this.
This is a temporary display. This was from that time capsule, and I'll talk about that for a moment. Is that remember that generation farming that in the father and son, and there was a big family argument of who worked at the Moonlight Bait Company and then the Pawpaw Bait Company on transition. And it was actually one brother said, or son said, no, it was grandpa that worked there. And the other brother said, no, it was dad that worked there. Well, guess what? I know a guy that has archived information. And through the names, they both worked there. The father, and the grandfather and the father. And they worked in the R&D section. So the son, after the son stopped working there in 1936. Now, how do I know this? In that big work chest, which I don't have the picture, well, I do have pictures on here. Monster work chest was made by his dad, well, the grandfather, I'll call him the grandfather. And so his son had correspondence. How is it nice to open up a time capsule? Hasn't been opened since 1936 and find dated letters, postmarks, other information. By the way, sorry about this picture of this graphic of such, but it was a pinup girl inside the work chest. So it was a pinup, but he worked in the R&D section from the information. And these are pawpaws in colors that have never been seen before. Most of these, some of these, well, most of these are catalog lures, except for that one was a test breed. But the ones on the left, he also developed the bobbers for the pawpaw bait company, and he had other prototypes.
So most collectors, focus, like you seem to focus on a small range of companies, but they focus on companies. Certain people like certain time periods, certain people like certain styles of lures, or you get all of that.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Some people collect on color from other companies. Like I know one guy that collects nothing but black and white, 2-color lures, black and white. I don't care who made it. I want a black and white lure from this company, etc. Some specialize in certain companies. I collect many different companies from all over the country. But the main ones that people focus on are the main companies of Shakespeare and BCHA, South Bend. Some people collect every lure in the series in every color that they made, including uncataloged colors. Right here, test colors. I remember the leader saying, how did they make this variegated? I remember liking this variegated thing. It's right here. How did they do that? Now we're talking late 20s, the late 1920s. Now I know for a fact that these lures were made in 1927, 1928. Makes something. And he was an expert in airbrushing. He had 30-some years of experience in airbrushing and painting. He said, I have no idea. No one really knows. But we have something that's very, very rare. This one right here. This is a pop-up on the water now for the pop-up companies. Hardware's got pop-up, everything. And they're very unusual color, kind of a pearl gold red. That's the only one known to exist. They never put it into production. The colors that you see here, they never put it into production. Probably found that it's too hard to make, too hard to paint, too expensive. Probably ever did it, I don't know. Now these lures were made totally unknown colors. These are called molar specials. This we call them molar specials. They're made for a tackle shop. Aaron saw, not Arkansas, Aaron saw Pass, Texas. Very heavy lures, 2 huge belly bolts in them. Apparently they tried to experiment with other scale colors. They imitated head what they call the rib colors. And they said, well, if we put these out, we're going to get sued again. We've been sued so many times. What's one more? But they never put them out. So many different things in this time capsule. It had so many different things. This is only a portion of what was in there. So it was very, very unusual, very unique. So, and I could go on and on. I mean, some of my seminars last all day long, sometimes 2 days, because they cover many different companies. But I did a slide presentation, if you bear with me, it's sad. Oh, that's turned off.
Oh, yeah, I would move it out of the way so we could.
Okay, this, this screen up here was, I did a PowerPoint presentation just on this historical find because it was so significant and answered so many questions. For example, that work chest is huge. It's unbelievable. It had so many things in it because there were lures that were found that they had no idea who made them. One example you have in here, yes. This lure was found and no one knew who made it. But everything in there, in that work chest, was either a Paw Bait Company product or a Moonlight Bait Company product. Same company, different names, transition. So now it has been confirmed. Now it's been confirmed that Henry Leeper had the Paw Bait Company make his lures for him. No one knew up until a few years ago when I found this one, who made these lures for Henry Leeper. So this is such a historical find, especially the prototypes. Uncataloged experimental firearm lures. Totally unbelievable. And the other things in there, a lot of prototypes, one of a kind. These lures were all fish. They were tested. I don't know how many they lost. It just breaks my heart to know how many that they lost. But I was ensured that that entire worked since it was open. Has never been open since 1936, isn't that amazing?
That is cool. Well,
Anyway.
thank you, Michael. I appreciate you coming out and chatting about this.
I hope I didn't put you all to sleep.
No, you're fine. So, for those who joined us, thank you for coming. We appreciate it. And this should be available within the next few minutes in its entirety on YouTube. We'll make sure in the next couple of days to put it in the appropriate location so it's easy to find. If you want to know anything about historic fishing lures, you're more than welcome to watch this or reach out to Michael and he'll be happy to give you a private lesson.
I'll tell you what you have, email, text. I don't know if I should provide my phone number on YouTube.
I wouldn't. What we'll do is we'll put your contact information, a modified version, so they can email you in the description. And we will also have pictures of these cases, including one that you guys couldn't see because of its location. So thank you everyone for coming and you have a wonderful rest of